Hello guys, welcome to today's lecture. Today we will be talking about the first settlers in the Americas. Just who were they, how did they get here, and why? Now this is all assuming that human life came from Africa and Europe, and that there wasn't already any indigenous people living in the Americas. So where exactly did the first settlers in the Americas come from? Many theories exist on this, one of which is that they came from Northeast Asia, ac- crossing a massive land known as Beringia. And this over here is Beringia. As you can see here, people could have came by foot or by boat from the northwestern United States. This is by foot or by boat. Another theory is that they came from Europe following the currents in the Atlantic Ocean, which is this current, which also kind of flows like this. For now, we will focus on the most popular theory, the theory that the first settlers in the Americas migrated from Northeast Asia by the Beringia landmass. It is said that these people came from Northeast Asia, what today is known as Mongolia and Siberia. These were families of nomads, hunters, and tribes that migrated due to various reasons. Here we see some pictures of what early American settlers might have looked like. Not to sound racially ignorant, but you can see that many of them, of the facial features that they have, of these Asian tribes, are similar to those of the today's Native Americans. And here is a modern political map of the Asian continent. Here is where theoretically the Beringia people may have come from. So here we have Mongolia, Manchuria, and the area of Siberia, which they could have all crossed over here through Beringia. So how exactly did these people come from Asia? Well, it is believed that around 12 to 20,000 years ago, there was a massive land known as Beringia right between Siberia and what today is known as Alaska. This land connected, Siberia and Alaska, which created kind of like a frozen bridge, which early settlers could have crossed to the Americas. It was actually kind of like frozen water, what really big glaciers. This frozen bridge, however, eventually melted. This massive land that connected the Americas from Asia melted, and this area right here is actually now known as the Bering Strait. Let's see something here. Let's play this. And here you can see as years pass by how that Beringia landmass kind of melted away all those glaciers. Yeah, how's that for global warming? And it's almost all melted now to what it is now known as today. And now, there is still much debate as to what methods the actual settlers used to get here. Many believe that they came on foot, traveling little by little as generations grew on, and until they eventually discovered North and South America. Others believe that they came by boat, as we see here. So when they came by land, they could have just come right through here, settling into what is now California, the middle United States, and eventually into Central America. Or they could have just crossed by boat, usually fishermen coming through here to the west coast, settling into California, Central America, Mexico, and eventually South America. So, so why did these people even bother coming here? Who in the right minds would even consider going through such an artist's journey into very unknown lands? Some people believe that it was due to climate change, as we see in this chart over here. Right around here, right around the time where people started crossing the Beringia land bridge, we see a huge increase in temperatures. And as temperatures rose, sea levels began to rise, making lands very wet and sometimes even flooded. People had to migrate to new lands, and some decided to move east. It is also believed that families were being constantly forced to migrate by other tribes. Tribes of hunters would come into already settled land and basically took over until those that were living there had to move in search for new hunting grounds. As such, exists the most popular theory as to why people came to the Americas, and that was in search for food. Humans have always had a tendency to deplete food sources and hunt down animals until the point of extinction, and the Amerindian people were no exception. As people hunted down animals, they followed the trails of bison and mammoths, which was actually their main source of food and clothing at the time, into what is now known as Alaska and Canada. Basically, from there, they moved down further south into warmer climates, which were more suitable for farming, and they would have able to stay in one place rather than move from one place to another in constant search for food. Now, another theory that is gaining popularity is that those from Beringia were actually not the first settlers in the Americas at all. In 1998, Bruce Bradley over here and Dennis Stanford proposed a theory that the first settlers in the Americas were actually Europeans that came by boat, as we saw in the other picture and we see here again, following the Atlantic currents. And over here, they're covered here from Europe and sometimes Africa, either down through here and settling into what is now Cuba, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, and Florida, and the East Coast, or they could have come through down here, which is northern United States and Canada. They claim that they found various artifacts in some areas over here in Florida, as well as South Carolina, that date back to before the Beringian settlers even came here. But this, however, is still a hypothesis, and the Beringian settlers still remain the most widely accepted theory as to how people first migrated to the Americas. So after these initial settlers from Beringia or perhaps Europe, there are a few more people who arrived in the Americas. Actually, before Christopher Columbus and his 3 boats came to the Americas, just to prove that the world was round and not flat and not square. It is believed that a group of people called the Vikings over here first arrived from Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, and they came into what is today is known as Ireland, Britain, and eventually Canada, and settling there and not spreading out very much, but they did come here before Columbus. So, well, that's it for today's lecture. I hope you learned something new on the origins of the first American settlers.